Hey everybody, Mayor Dave Cassetti from the great city of Ansonia. My staff and I would like to explain to you about the 5 bonding projects coming up for your approval this election day on November 7th. Hey Kevin,
Dave,
how you
good
doing?
morning.
Good, how are you?
All right.
The first question is this the right time to do bonding? And how will this affect my taxes? I'd like to turn it over to Kurt Miller in my finance department.
Great.
Thanks, Mayor. This is Ansonia Budget Director Kurt Miller, and I'd like to spend some time going through some of the financial questions that residents have with regards to the upcoming referendum. It's actually a very good time to look at bonding. There are a lot of concerns in the coming years with inflation, particularly driven by the conflict in the Middle East. That could actually increase oil prices, which is going to put undue pressure on the American economy. That would cause interest rates to rise. So now is actually a very good time to be looking at bonding because it gives us the ability to get out and borrow this money if we need to, whether it be through bonding, through lease purchases, or private placements at favorable interest rates. You know, one of the biggest questions we get is Ansonia in a good position to borrow? Where do we stand financially when it comes to our debt? Because unfortunately, there's been a lot of misinformation that's been put out in the public. If you look at Standard & Poor's, which is the premier rating agency for municipalities across the country, they break down where towns and cities should be when it comes to overall debt, and it's something called the debt ratio. A healthy community is a community that has debt of less than 6%. So what that is the total amount of payments being made each year towards their debt is 6% of their overall budget. So if the budget was $100,000 as an example, they should be paying $6,000 or less each year in principal and interest payments. The city of Ansonia's debt ratio currently stands at 3.72%. So in S&P's eyes, Ansonia is in an exceptional position to potentially be taking on more debt, but taking on debt to continue to reinvest in the community, reinvest in its buildings, reinvest in its capital, and things like that. The question on everyone's mind is how will this borrowing affect their taxes? How will this borrowing affect the mill rate for the city of Ansonia? The current debt model as it's built is built in a declining model, which means that each year going forward, starting in fiscal 25, we will have less principal and interest payments than we had the year before, and that will continue on. As debt falls off of our current model, we'll be able to replace it with this new debt, allowing us to continue to reinvest in our community, but most importantly, giving us the ability to keep taxes stable. We understand where we are, we understand where we need to go, and we'll be able to use these two models to balance taxes, but again, continue to reinvest in Ansonia's future. Hopefully I've been able to answer any of your questions or clear up any concerns that you may have had. I'm certainly available at any time to answer questions that any resident might have. With that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Kurt, for that information. The first question on the ballot is for your consideration for a new middle school for our school children. Question number 1. This question asked our residents to borrow $105,525,000 for a new middle school and citywide improvements to all our schools. Of importance is that we anticipate borrowing only 20% of this total number, or $20 million, with 80% being reimbursed by the state of Connecticut. So the total request for bonding is really $20 million after reimbursement to build a new middle school and improve our existing schools. The next question on the ballot is emergency services, which includes a new animal shelter. Question number 2. This question is all about public safety. We would be borrowing $10,762,000 for improvements to fighting crime with a new camera system, improvements to our animal shelter, which we have long since outgrown, replacing old vehicles for our police, fire, and arms. We would also be purchasing radios for better communication throughout our public safety departments. The third question on the ballot for your consideration is improvements to citywide fields. Question number 3. This question is regarding borrowing $10,200,000 for recreation improvements, including all fields and courts and citywide improvements for fields to accommodate the growing number of children participating in all sports, including football, baseball, softball, tennis, basketball, pickleball, and soccer. The fourth question on the ballot for your consideration is citywide road improvements. Question number 4. This is a bond request for $5,100,000 in roads and other infrastructure improvements throughout the city, concentrating on roads, curbing, ADA compliance and sidewalks, aging infrastructure, and unsafe conditions needed to be addressed throughout Ansonia. And the final question is authorizing funds for improvements at Public Works. Question number 5, $1,045,000 for Public Works' aging fleet of trucks to be able to address ongoing issues with our aging infrastructure. There you have it, the 5 important projects up for your approval on November 7th. Thank you very much.